Urgent kita harus ganti guduji.
Thank you.
Bapak sadar nggak bahwa tanah air ini menyalahgunakan kita punya negara?
Yeah, so this just to recap for the non.
The lady in the pink.
Your skirt is very topical.
Oh ya, nanti aja jangan nyalain.
Hello, Pak Anies. Thank you so much for your opportunity. My name is Deborah, and I'm a master's student in political science in Leiden University.
Mengikuti perkembangan Bapak Anies sejak kuliah di MU, di Medan University, dan pada waktu itu di Amerika, saya juga kuliah di Georgetown University dan George Washington University.
Capacities or mindset that Gen Z should have to develop and move from the passive
thought that the old generation actually destroys.
Perhaps you can tell your age and then raise your hand.
The youngest goes first, yeah. No, there, I'll just, yeah. No, I think yeah.
Yes, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Pak Anies. My name is Jefferson. I'm a new PhD student in Leiden University. And actually, I want to highlight about the intellectual power. As you mentioned, you gave an illustration how the intellectual aspect and also integrity combine to become an ultimate power. And I don't see today that the intellectual aspect has its power in our country, especially when I see people with person with logical fallacy, or maybe someone who has his or her graduate certificate question to lead our country. And the thing that I want to ask you, Pak Anies, how to reinvent the power of intellectual power to gain its own power. So because in my view, today's intellectual aspect has no power at all.
Well, like Pak Anies said, it used to be Shahrir and Hatta who were really intellectuals, of course, who were the heroes of the nation. Pak Anies, do you want to respond?
If I may suggest, can we take a few and then
sure,
respond?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, there in the
Professor
back.
Ward. Professor Ward, I'll give you my card.
Yes, I know. But I'm
contact number.
First doing a few younger ones. Yeah.
If you text me, I'll save it.
Hi, afternoon, Pak Anies. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Alif, a master graduate from Erasmus University Rotterdam, majoring in governance and different policy. Yes, but my question is that we are seeing now many policies set by the parliament and also the government. And in our view, because many incompetent people sitting in the government and MPs and parliament, because on the election day, they hold greater capital. They have more money. So the more money they have, the more chance for them to win. What I'm trying to say is that we cannot touch the elites, but we can do something to the people, to the commoners. So that it leads to my question for you. How do you see the voters on the election day? And are they an object for us to educate so they can know better about the candidates which one is better and how robust, understanding on the politics? Yeah, thank you so much.
I'll take one from this side. And on the back, I see a very young face, maybe? I don't know. Yeah.
This is the microphone.
Ya bahasa Indonesia aja. Pak Anies, saya mau kasih tahu Bapak bicara bahasa dari negara tuh yang menghancurkan negara-negara lain dan juga membuat peta dunia. Dan sampai sekarang dunia itu nggak benar karena mereka. Kenapa saya katakan ini? Karena pengaruh mereka itu besar sekali. Bapak bilang tadi kita punya income itu dari apa namanya, dari di bawah tanah, ya. Itu dipakai untuk mereka di sini. Untuk dipakai mereka di sini. Ya, jadi kita punya orang-orang itu nggak dapat apa-apa. Dan juga mereka menyalahgunakan kita punya pemerintah. Yang seperti Bapak bilang tadi, korupsi. Ya. Sekarang saya mau tanya, Bapak tahu nggak? Bapak di negara ini, itu duit yang mereka dapat sampai sekarang, itu duit Indonesia, Pak. 350 tahun mereka merampas dan segala macam. 4,5 miliar golden kita harus ganti rugi.
Thank you.
Bapak sadar nggak bahwa tanah air ini menyalahgunakan kita punya negara?
Yeah, so this, just to recap for the non-Indonesian speakers, this is about the colonial legacy, of course, of the Netherlands. And there has been research, there has been a talk recently also at the university, which shows how many billions of euros actually in the Netherlands is still making from that legacy. Yes, one final question before we ask for a few responses.
Hello, Banis. My name is Danis. I came here along with my twin brother. Sorry, can you hear me?
Your name?
Danis, Danis. Yeah. So I came here along with my twin brother. We both are studying in the University of Amsterdam. And actually, this is not our first time meeting. It's back in 2023. We met during the 17th birthdays of Anto Purwata's daughter. If you still remember.
Can you speak slower
I'm sorry.
so I can?
Okay, yeah. So this is actually not our first time meeting because back in 2023, we meet each other during the 17th birthdays of Anto Purwata's daughter. If you still remember the name. Because at that time, a lot of my friends were also taking picture with you as well. And ever since then, we've been following your political career very closely. And even though at that time, like you weren't on my options to vote in the presidential elections, but after that has changed until we saw your political debate, your presidential debate. And at that time, as I remember, there's one question regarding Jakarta's pollution, and in which you word your answer with the phrase, angin tidak punya KTP. And even though that might seem like a very simple parable for me to interpret, but afterwards I saw in a lot of social media that there's a lot of people who actually misinterpreted it or actually make jokes of it. And that left me with a question. Okay, maybe some part of them, they might be like biased towards interpreting that question. Or second, or maybe they're just a buzzer. Or third, maybe they just have a different level of education compared to those who can actually interpret it. And my question is actually, do you think democracy should only be reserved to those nations with equal access to educations? Should I repeat my question?
So the question is whether social media should be reserved.
Oh, no, sorry. As democracy should only be reserved for those nations with equal access to educations.
Do those nations exist?
Yeah. Is it audible?
I don't understand
The
the
question
question.
was
Oh,
whether
sorry.
democracy should be reserved for nations with equal access to education.
Since when we're talking about democracy here, every people have.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
just like 10 more seconds. Sorry. So, if we're talking about democracy here, like every people have equal power of voting, right? For example, you, PhD title holder, and for example, with my grandparents who don't even have a ijazah SMP, but they have the same equal power of voting. Like, do you think it should be right or no? Since
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. So because we have very little time, so Amis, do you want to take more questions and then just make a general kind of response?
Yeah, let me just respond first. So, number one is Jefferson says about bringing back intellectual power. So I would also say that we need to have more rooms for technocracy in the policy making of Indonesia. And of course, political aspect is important, but democracy is important. And for political parties, I think we need to bring ideology to the front. I think in the past 2-3 decades, we have not seen clear ideology from political parties. What ideology they stand for, what are missions, so that today we cannot distinguish clearly between political party. These have become simply vehicle to get into authority, not so much political party with ideas. And if you look back in the past, we have contending political parties that clearly have different ideological lines. And when you have different ideological lines, you provide sort of stimulations for intellectual thinking to emerge. Because then you have to argue, let's say, when the Socialistic Party was there, they argue why this has to go through this approach. And when the nationalists were talking about using nationalism, then they have to translate that into thinking. So having ideology stated clearly will stimulate rooms for debate, for conversation, and that's where rooms for intellectual can grow. Without that, it will be very tough. So on government side, provide rooms for technocracy. On the political party side, give clear ideology so that you have debate clearly on issues. Okay, that's one. Alif, in our DPR, large number of our members, the member of the House, were involved in vote buying. And I think large portion of that contributed to open list system, where competing within the party. If we go back, I think the tendency now to go back to closed list, that the list of the candidates have been decided and you vote for the party, not for the individuals. I think it will then give less incentive for candidates to buy votes, because what is happening, a candidate for the House, they're competing within the party and competing with other political parties. And that is where the challenge is. And vote buying is not only happening between the voters with the candidates, but also the candidates with the election committee. And the election committee is well known at the national. We didn't know their track records. And that is where vote buyings were happening. So if we go back to the closed list, we may reduce that issues. Okay, and then understand your issue. I think I was told that there was a discussion also happening here. I think would like to get the record so I can learn as well. Thank you, Pak. And then on the last one, Dennis, on democracy only for those with education. If there is not enough education, let's not get involved in democracy. Well, preparedness to participate in a democratic process is not simply a function of the degree that you have. It's not only a function of the level of education you have. If I may say, Indonesians were educated on elections during the New Order period. We were trained by the New Order to run elections 6 times. We knew the result before the election took place. Okay? But you know, there is no less than 900,000 polling stations. And the election must be done in 5 hours, simultaneously, across the country. Very complex system. That was impressive. Look at new democracy in the Middle East after the Arab Spring. It collapsed. Look at Eastern Europe. Look at Latin America. The population was not prepared for an electoral process. So when authoritarian regimes fall down, the population held first election and chaotic. Look, Indonesia held first elections in 1999, only a few months of preparations, but the entire population, the organizers were prepared, and the organizers were civil society. The voters were prepared because we were educated to go to the polling station and vote. And after you vote, you go back home and watch for TV, right? And you'll see the result. This was an education process, has nothing to do with degree, has nothing to do with level of education. But this is called the political education. It was done under the order. The credit goes to them. Now, we were trained to do the electoral process, but we were not trained to conduct quality voting. That is not yet. Okay? So when we have free elections, now we need to go beyond that by being selective, being rational, vote according to your preference. That is something that we need to educate. So, educated the entire population with 6 times elections. This will also need a few times of elections to get us produce quality votes, with quality result of elections. But do not underestimate the ability of Indonesians in undergoing this electoral process. Yes, we need to learn more, we need to produce better results, but let's remember, the process of growing for a human being is very different than the process of growing in a society. Let's not use our human age for a societal growth. It will take time, but stay the course. Be optimistic, we'll get there.
How much time do we still have? Maybe I should ask the organizers. One moment, I need to know first how much time they have because it's already almost 5. Oh, okay, let's take a few more questions. But first, and then you're very eager, and then you've also been waiting. Yes.
Hello. I'm Almira. I'm the head of PPI Amsterdam, and also I'm a UVA student and UI student. So my question is, as you mentioned, there might be vote buying, etc., and we might predict who will win first in the election process even before it already announced. So we're as a Gen Z, as a future leaders, of course. So, in your opinion, what are the qualities or inner qualities, capacities, or mindset that Gen Z should have to develop and move from the passive acceptance to active renewal of democracy? Thank you.
So the microphone is that big.
Okay. Thank you. Selamat sore, terima kasih atas kesempatan yang diberikan kepada saya. Perkenalkan, nama saya Abdul Aziz. Saya koresponden tetap dari surat kabar online yang berbasis di Surabaya, kempalan.com, yang saya reside atau tinggal di Amsterdam ini untuk meliput seluruh wilayah Eropa dan Schengen. Saya cukup mengikuti perkembangan Bapak Anies sejak kuliah di MU, di Belanda University, dan pada waktu itu di Amerika, saya juga kuliah di Georgetown University dan George Washington University. Saya ambil MBA, kemudian Pak Anies melanjutkan ke PhD. Kemudian dari Amerika, saya berkarir keliling ke Dubai, ke Singapura, dan sebagainya, 30 negara. Oke, pertanyaan saya Pak Anies, apa yang disampaikan oleh Pak Anies ini sangat bagus sekali. Saya sebagai aktivis politik di Indonesia dan hingga saat ini saya juga member Forum Diaspora Indonesia dan juga ex-aktivis jaringan relawan yang mendukung Bapak Anies pada pemilu 2024 yang lalu. Reflection on your power and integrity from Indonesia, in my perspective, it's gonna be complete or it's gonna be perfect if Mr. Anies could propose, hopefully Mr. Anies Baswedan will be our next president, inshallah. Our main problem in Indonesia, frankly speaking, is morale. The corruption is terrible, and all the business activities and politicians are very bad. So the main problem coming from the religious sectors, people doesn't scared of God.
Maaf, because we have a lot of questions still. Can you
Yeah,
come to the question,
this is
please?
my question. So is it possible if maybe we can fix about the religious, about the ethical, and about the morality in Indonesia in order to become Indonesian better in the future? Thank you.
I already, yeah, I already.
Halo, okay. Halo, Mas Anies. My name is Shawai. I'm a university student in UVA, undergraduate. I know I look old, but I'm still 20. So I have a short question. Mr. Anies, Darren Ajamolu in Why Nations Fail says nations don't fail because the people are lazy.
Hold on.
All right. So I'm going to repeat it. Darren Ajamolu in Why Nations Fail says nations don't fail because the people are lazy, but because institutions become extractive, controlled by elites for their own benefits. In Indonesian, we call it Korea Korea lah. And looking at Indonesia today, with money politics, selective law enforcement, and local capture, it feels like the doors of democracy have been locked from inside. Even when people protest, their voices cannot be heard from inside the DPR building. So my question is, Mr. Anis, how can young people push for truly inclusive institutions without falling into populism or apathy? And as international students, how can we be the plutonium in this atomic bomb, helping reopen those doors of democracy for the people? That's it. Thank you.
Plutonium in the atomic bomb. I think that one went viral a few weeks ago. How many questions did we have? 3? One more. What was your name again? Shawai. Sorry, the lady in the pink. The lady in the pink. Your skirt is very topical.
Oh ya, nanti aja jangan nyalain.
Hello, Pak Anies. Thank you so much for your opportunity. My name is Deborah, and I'm a master's student in political science in Leiden University. Thank you so much for your very interesting insight on democracy, which is a very important issue. And in here, my question is with the very cartelized political parties in Indonesia, I think one of the solution that we can have is to have challenger parties. Just straightforward, how does your take on this? Would you do you ever think to build a political parties that could manage to challenge the established parties that we have right now? Because I think we cannot rely with the current political parties in Indonesia, as Bapak already said, there are no ideology, there are no program, and only benefits for the elite. So, do you think to manage and build your own political parties in the future, because we only have 4 years left to the next upcoming election, and yeah, you already need to do education politics up since right now. Thank you so much.
I think a lot of people in the audience are waiting for some revelation here. Not sure if we're going to get it. This is supposed to be an academic event, actually. Do you want to respond first to these questions?
So, if I may respond, in general, with democracy and the youth, you've been saying why nation fail, and then you're talking about what should we do as the young people. I think I said it earlier that it's important for the young generations to ask tough questions. Who gets what in every policy that is made? Where is our part? in the policy that government is making. And I think that are part of the roles that you can do. And be active, be truly active. For example, if you question some policies, don't let it go unchallenged. If government decided to build a fast track train between Jakarta and Bandung, and it is financed by taxpayers across Indonesia, but the benefit only being felt by the people of these two cities, would people like you're from Sumatera Utara, from Medan, would you not be asking questions? Why should our tax money go there? Why should we do it? So I think it is very important for you to speak up. And if you let it go unchallenged, they will continue doing this. So speak up and speak up. And once you're done, go back to Indonesia. Go back to Indonesia. And his grandfather was the governor of North Sumatra. So continue your grandfather's role, being part in politics. Be there and active, okay? So
without money.
Yeah. And then questions on Aziz, you know, what next? And also you're also talking about what next? Tunggu aba-aba. How do I say tunggu aba-aba? Wait for the signal. But yeah, of course, that is one of the things that we've been contemplating. We've been contemplating. We have not come to conclusion yet, but I agree with you. There is a need for new and fresh. However, it has to be done differently. I think we pick up a lot of lessons from our campaign in the past. That volunteerism was the keyword. Everything done through volunteerism. And of course, we were not satisfied with the result. Not because of our achievement, but we are not satisfied because the way the election was run. The election was run with a lot of state intervention through law enforcement, as well as through government programs of subsidy here and there. I think it has colored the process and it has shifted the result. We challenge that to the court, but from our perspective, we also learn that there are champions in our society who are willing to be part of this process, working with volunteerism, spending their resources for a mission, for a purpose. And I think we have seen those individuals. Now they're part of our network. So we will come to gathering and we'll decide where to go. And if it is a go, I think you should come back and involve. So I think I've addressed all of that.
Yes.
I was putting this on TV because
wondering about this.
This has nothing to do with our discussion, but this has anything to do with climate, with environmental problems. But I think I'd like you to see these pictures to get you idea how our city in Jakarta is having pollution problem, air quality problem.
This is air quality.
Air quality problem. Before you start, this is a real picture, satellite pictures of air quality in Java and Sumatra by hour. So every hour, the satellite is taking pictures, and they collected the data over months, years, to get the profile of air quality in Java. The darker is the dirtier. The lighter means clean. So you can start now. You will see Jakarta often become the most polluted city, not because of within Jakarta, but because of the chimney in the coal power plant generated by coal. So if you see that, it is very scary. When the winds blows to Jakarta, Jakarta will be very polluted. But when the winds goes to Sumatra, it's Sumatra that is polluted. The problem is why when Jakarta gets the dirty air, the alarm goes on because we put air quality detector. In other area, they don't have the detector. Because they don't have a detector, so it says as if it's clean, but it is not. So you see that it's very scary picture. And this is by hour. This is why I said the air doesn't have, the wind doesn't have KTP. Because it keep moving. Depending on the wind blows, then the air quality of Jakarta, and not only Jakarta, of entire city. So we need to fix this.
Thank you. Shall we take a few more questions? Yeah, and yes, very enthusiastic. Ini Mbak ini, terus yeah, and one in the back again.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Nora, and I'm
Nora.
Yeah, and I'm studying at the UVA. My question is basically a source from everyone else's question here. It's just, so what does the role of social media play into some sort of the intellectual power we need to cultivate? And does it deteriorate, or does it actually, like grow more discussions among us, the youth? Yeah,
Thank you. So the role of social media. And there was one more, I think, sorry, there in the back, you can.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, Pak Anies. My name is Angga. I am IT programmer at ING Bank here in Amsterdam. I have a question. I got an impression about your talk that the old generation actually, destroys, damages the democracy, and then the youth are like the quote unquote like the victim of it. But actually, if I see the facts nowadays, I'm almost in my 30s, and then some of my friends actually sort of like climb up the ladder to the politics as well. And then I kind of see that they are not that how do I say, like that vanilla.
Bringing up issues that's overlooked. So we have seen policy in communications, policy in executions that is not as planned, and social media was instrumental in bringing that up into attention. And wrongdoing, we have seen that. The challenge in our social media today is how can, and also on top of that, social media has been instrumental in fighting against fear. The challenge today, I think, how social media can create and strengthen trust, and that is still absent. What we have is we are no longer fearful to talk about wrongdoing. But how can social media create trust? And I think that is still a big homework for us. So in Indonesia, same thing. We have seen no viral, no justice slogans. That when you see injustice and you bring it up through social media, and then attention is given. Authoritarianism. I've often responded to these questions, this question in Indonesia, because some of our bureaucrats, some of people in authority in Indonesia often echoing a message that maybe we don't need democracy. Maybe we need an authoritarian regime, and referring to China as an example. So my response is, why not referring to North Korea? That's also an authoritarian regime. Why not referring to Myanmar? That's also an authoritarian regime. So why should we be, cherry picking when showing an example? I think why China excel, not simply because of authoritarianism, because there is meritocracy there. There is a meritocracy allows those with excellence to actually play roles. And without that, an authoritarian regime will not function. Same thing, democracy without meritocracy will also fail to function. And that's also what we're experiencing. So I think on that, we need to go a little bit further. Not simply it is about authoritarianism, but it is about what's in it that makes a country like China excel. And one of them is meritocracy. And that's what we need. There's an absence of meritocracy in Indonesia today, in the public sector, and sometimes also in the private sector. Organizations that values meritocracy in the private sector, they have proven to be sustainable over time. If I may names, Astra Group, give you example. Meritocracy is truly there. Good governance is truly there. That kind of organizations continue to grow over time. They're not operating based on licensing from government, based on meritocratic value. And this kind of organizations now is being copied to others. But we are not seeing similar things in our public service or public or government. I am grateful to see that Ministry of Foreign Affairs have been practicing selection in a meritocratic way for new entrants of diplomats. We have seen sons, daughters of the first echelon, even former ministers, were rejected to become diplomats. And for that, that is a good news. Not because he or she is rejected, but the fact that you're son or daughter of somebody and not easily get accepted. And that's what we need. So we need more of that in our system, meritocracy. Yes, I agree. There is a danger of new feudalisms in our political party. Why? In the past, we have seen turnover of leadership in the political parties. Nowadays, we have not seen that turnover as it should be. And then in 2015, the Constitutional Court turned over our law on preventing brothers, sisters, and direct families to run after someone in that family is in office. So if I'm a governor, after I finish 2 terms, my brothers, my wife, or my in-law is not allowed to run again. That law was overturned in 2015. And that creates situations where after I do my 2nd term, my wife becomes the 3rd term. And then after my wife do the 2nd term, my son is the 5th term. And that law was there. In 2015, it was revised. It was unfortunate. And unfortunately, the president at that time decided not to challenge that. He could have challenged it, brought it to the DPR and overturned that. Because that is key to prevent our democracy from becoming feudalistic. I think what's unique about Indonesia compared to our neighbors, when our founding fathers established this republic, is equality. That you don't have to be someone to be a governor. You don't have to be children of a privileged family to be a bupati or mayor. And the structure was created equality was there. And I think there is that deterioration on that principles. Hopefully, all of us who care about that will continue to fight for bringing back equality and meritocracy into our system. Thank you.
Because the initiatives are there and the cases are there. Thank you. So before we close off, I want to ask Bart if you have some final comments or reflections based on the Q&A also and Bani's responses.
Well, I think one of the nice things of interaction like this is also to see you challenge and express your norms and values that you bring in politics, and I hope that if you do take up some of the suggestions we had, that you will indeed not go to the road of the pragmatism and beyond, but that you keep up also some of the values and norms that you expressed here about integrity and meritocracy. And I think that's what Indonesia needs, and that is reinventing democracy, if we can really realize that. But it's, as you say, it's a step-by-step struggle into the future.
Yeah, and also if I may share some of the reflection on that, it is way more difficult to work together among those with good intention. Orang baik lebih sulit bekerja sama. Why? Because orang baik demand to agree 100% each other. Okay? You and I have to agree 100% in order to maintain our togetherness. I may disagree with you 5%, and I may stay away from you.
Yeah, so they become
Exactly.
more difficult.
Exactly. The orang tidak baik, they only have to agree 20% and they still work together. Okay? And that is the issue. You may see differences, maybe the differences is small, but then immediately you break out. Immediately, I'm no longer with you. Done. Why? Because of 5% differences. And that is my reflections on this end of war. It is so difficult for good people to continue working together because we often demand that we have to be the same 100%. And we have to agree on all issues. If there is an issue that we disagree, immediately say, okay, I'm done with you. That is my reflection on this journey. I think it's very important to stay the course. Otherwise, we depart in a journey with 1,000 people, good intentioned individuals. After 2-3 years, we end up only with 300. Why? Because of disagreement on micro issue, and then people stay away. So in my reflection, it's very important for us to have a clear missions and then able to accept the fact that there is no way we will always agree on everything.
That is also not the essence of democracy, right?
Exactly.
To be completely 100% agreement. But in order to be able to build democracy collaboratively, as a co-creation, we need to accept, small differences, as long as the principles are simple, let's say, for democracy. I think, Pak Anies, you wanted to say something about Aksi Bersama also, or?
Yeah. If I may, we formed an organization called Aksi Bersama, and that we're working on building bridges in the remote areas of Indonesia. So we are doing this work